All right, guys, the last of our foam roller series for this week. We're going to work on a little bit more core stuff today versus we did all the stretch stuff on Tuesday, we did the balance stuff on Thursday, so today is going to be more core. We'll do a little bit of stretches, there'll be a little bit of balance here and there, but primarily this will be more core work. So let's start with our foam roller down towards the end of our mat. We're going to lay down and place our feet on top so we can start off with some of our pelvic tilts and some of our bridges. So laying down nice and flat in your neutral spine. Remember, if you need to avoid that flexion of your low back, you won't pelvic tilt, you won't articulate, you'll hold that strict position. So when we're in our pelvic tilt like this, we're creating that C curve and you don't want to create flexion, you could just lift and float the hips a little bit up off of the mat, working into your hamstring strength and into your abdominal and back extensors. So feet are on the foam roller. I've got the arch of my foot kind of wrapped around the top of the roller in line with my sit bones, and I'm making sure that the pelvis is in a nice neutral position, and I can feel the weight of my shoulder blades and my rib cage coming down against the mat. On the exhale, I'm going to tilt the hips back to imprint the low back flat against the mat. So I'm creating that hollow scooping position as I draw my belly to my back. And I've kind of pushed my heels onto the roller a little bit, toes kind of arced up towards the ceiling. And then the pelvis will articulate back towards the tailbone, back to that neutral spine. So you've got even weight across the pelvis, across the hips, and that little gap at the small of the back. And once again, we'll exhale to tilt, drawing the abdominals in. Having your feet on the roller is nice. You get that extra glute hamstring engagement, a little bit in the calf as well, as you work through those pelvic tilts. Creating that nice hollowing, that stretch and length through the low back. For those of you that are staying away from flexion because of osteopenia or osteoporosis in the spine, you could go into extension. Extension is great as long as it doesn't cause any discomfort in your back, but extension for osteoporosis and osteopenia in the spine is great to strengthen those back extensors. And it moves the vertebra into a safer position versus that flexion, which can cause little small fractures or breaks, depending on how severe the osteoporosis is. Let's do two more, either pelvic tilts. You could go through that full range where you're in your flexion position and then you're going to curl along the spine and then articulate back onto the tailbone for that great extension, heavy to the tailbone. Being mindful not to over flare the ribs. And one more. Resetting back to neutral. My arms are going to reach nice and long down by my side, and I'm going to work into my pelvic curl or your strict shoulder bridge. On the exhale, we tilt the hips back if you're adding flexion, and begin to peel and curl up, bridging and lifting the hips. We're finding that fold at the mid-ribs to bring the chest down and in, to knit through the rib cage, pull your belly to your back. Good engagement in the legs and in the hips to squeeze into inner thighs, feel that tension at the back of the legs. And then that next breath, we're going to slowly curl and articulate all the way down to the mat, back to that neutral spine. Being mindful that the shoulder position doesn't change as you work through that rock and bridge. We want to keep the arms reaching long, the shoulders gliding down the back. Working along the spine, each piece, each vertebra We're going to hold at the top of our next bridge. And we're going to roll the foam roller to our heels to push the legs out a little bit, push the foam roller forward, and then bend the knees, draw the roller towards the toes. So we're rolling that foam roller under the foot to create a little bit of knee extension, knee flexion. 3, 2, and 1. Hips tilt, we curl, and roll back down, piece by piece. Rolling the foam roller out, so that way the back of the ankle, back of the lower leg is on the foam roller with knees and legs nice and straight. We're going to reach the arms long. Doing a straight leg bridge, we're going to exhale and lift the hips straight up and slow to lower. It's going to be a small bridge. Really press and squeeze and engage into inner thighs. Hips lift up. We pull ribs and abdominals in. There's a little bit of movement of the foam roller from the back of the lower leg. It kind of moves towards the heels as you lift your hips up and you anchor onto the shoulder blades. We'll go for 3 more. And bending the knees, we'll bring the foam roller back towards the hips. Reset your spine to neutral as you stretch the arms long. Back on the arch of the foot on top of the roller, or if you find a more comfortable foot position. We're going to bridge and lift the hips up and bring that right leg up to tabletop. And the foot will tap the roller and return to tabletop. We're going to hinge at the hip, keeping our knee bend. Think of this as like your single leg lowers, but in your shoulder bridge. And we'll place the right foot down. I'm going to reset the spine. I like the reset in between changing with single-sided work. And we'll bridge back up. Left leg comes to tabletop. And the foot's going to tap the roller, maintaining the knee bend, hinging at the hip. Last one. And slow to curl back down, all the way back to that neutral spine with arms reaching out nice and long. We're going to bridge once again. We're going to build on this bridging progression. We're going to lift the hips up. Reach that right leg out over the top of the foam roller and kick the leg up. And slow to lower on the inhale. Exhale to lift and lower. Last 2. And we'll place the foot to the roller with control, nice, smooth articulation. We return the spine and the hips back to the mat and take a moment for that reset. Often the roller will shift a little bit out of position, so it's always good to reset. Find that foundation before changing sides. We bridge and lift the hips. Center to our midline, reach that left leg out nice and long, and left leg lifts and lowers. Exhale as the leg lifts. Inhale as the leg lowers. Go for 1 more. And the knee will bend, foot to the roller, and we curl and roll back down piece by piece, all the way through to the tailbone. We're going to bring our foam roller towards the hips, and we're going to bridge, lift the hips, and roll the roller across the sacrum. So our pelvis is resting here on the top of that foam roller, just between the tailbone and your lumbar spine, right across the top of your pockets. I like to hold on to the sides of the rollers with my hands because as we work into different positions, it tends to slide away if you don't have a nice grip on it. Let's work a figure 4 stretch first. So I'm going to take my left foot, place it on top of my right knee, and then just twist that left leg out. Twisting the leg in the hip. And then I'm going to rock and twist onto that left side. And start to move and twist that left leg again as I'm rotated and tipped onto the left side of my hip. Coming back to neutral. Left foot comes down. I'm going to lift and just reset the hips again. Right foot crosses that left leg. And then the leg twists down and the leg twists in so the knees pointing more towards your chest and then twists away. You're going to tip onto that right hip, and then that right leg is going to twist. One more breath. And slow to come back to center. Uncrossing the legs. Make any adjustments you need with the foam roller under the hips. And we're going to bring our legs up to up to tabletop. Bringing the knees together, squeezing through inner thighs. We're going to draw the ribs and the abdominals down and in. And on the inhale, right leg extends out to that nice 45-degree angle, and exhale to draw the leg back. Let's alternate single leg extensions. Reaching the leg out nice and long, stretching far out over the mat. Finding that full extension of the leg. As the leg straightens and lengthens, we're going to draw the ribs in, pull our belly to our back. One more each side. And then hug the knees in towards the chest. You can do this with a neutral spine or add some flexion to the low back to decompress and feel that stretch along those back extensors. And then we'll return back to our tabletop position with our hips resting across the top of the foam roller. We're in tabletop, legs squeezed together. We're going to work our spine twist. We're going to tip our legs on the inhale to the right, anchoring the left side of the chest and shoulders. And then exhale back to center. Drawing a straight line across the ceiling with the knees and the shins, we tip to the left, anchoring that right shoulder blade and back to center. We're moving along the roller side to side. This spine twist, we typically do it on the mat. This is great on the foam roller. You get a bit of support by being up on the roller, but you get that great stretch along the back of the hips, and especially how far you can tip and twist to the side. You can get to the outside of the hip into TFL a bit more. One more pass to each side. We'll return to center, place our feet back to the mat. Feet and legs are parallel. Adjust the roller as needed. We're keeping our left knee bent with the foot on the mat, and we're going to extend the right leg out, feeling that nice stretch along the front of the quad and into the front of the hip. And on the exhale, we're going to lift that right leg up and slow on the inhale as the leg lowers, trying to tap the mat, keeping the legs stretched out nice and long for these straight legs, lifts and lowers. I'm starting off with a pointed toe. If the calf tends to cramp or the bottom of the foot does, you can flex at the ankle to pull the foot back towards the shin. So you get that stretch along the back of the leg a bit better. And you can stretch through the arch of the foot as you pull the top of the foot back towards the shin and the knee. One more. And we'll bend that right knee, place the foot in line with the sit bone on the mat. Left leg extends and straightens. And we're reaching it out nice and long across the mat. Feel that stretch through the front of the hip and across the front of the thigh. And next exhale, that left leg stays straight and long and kicks up towards the ceiling, and inhale to lower. Nice and long leg. And then we can change to that dorsiflex position to change up the stretch. One more. And we'll bend the knee, bring the foot back towards your sit bone. Let's walk our feet together. And then let the knees fall out to the side for that butterfly stretch. With your hips propped up on your foam roller, it's a really nice opening of the front of the hip and of the inside of the thigh. Since you're not moving, you can also bring the arms out to a T to fully open and stretch to the front of the chest and along the bicep. One more breath, and then we'll slow to reset back to center. We're going to return our legs to tabletop, nice and strong there at the center. And on the inhale, both legs extend forward, reaching out nice and long, and then exhale to glide them back to tabletop. Ribs and abdominals knit in as you stretch those legs further and longer out over your mat. Drawing your belly to your back, keeping the movement in the leg as you reach out and stretch long from the hip. Last one, we stretch out nice and long, and then we bring our legs up vertical over the hip. I'm going to flex at the ankle to pull the top of the foot back towards the knee. And then we're going to tip with straight legs onto that right hip, anchoring the left side of the chest and shoulder blade. And exhale back to center. Straight long legs as you tip onto that left hip and back to center. You've got that natural curve at the small of the back. So there's no flexion of the low back and that spine sinking down towards the mat. You're maintaining
as much neutral spine as you can as you stretch the legs long and tip from hip to hip. Last one from side to side. And we pause at center. Pointing the toes on the inhale, both legs lower, out to about 45, and flex at the ankle and exhale to kick back up to a nice straight leg. Pointing the toes, we reach out nice and long, and flex, exhale, extend and kick back up. Three more. Knees bend in towards the chest, and we'll stretch and decompress. Let's bring the feet down to the mat. Take a moment to readjust the roller. You can always add a small hand towel under your sacrum, under your hips, if the time on the foam roller is too much for any of your hip bones or your back. I'm going to stretch that left leg out nice and long across the mat, and then draw the right knee in towards the chest for that deeper stretch and opening through the front of the left hip and thigh. And then bringing that right leg cross body over and towards that left shoulder. And right leg extends out. We'll bend that left knee. Stretch the right leg out nice and long. Let's bring our left knee towards the chest. And then that left leg comes cross body over towards that right shoulder. And slow to unwind. Let's slide the foam roller out from underneath our hips, and we're going to curl and sit up. And I'm going to move the foam roller to the back in that horizontal position right across the shoulder blades, working our chest lift, adding a bit of stretch and extension. We're going to interlace our fingers, bring our hands behind the head to support the head and the neck. And inhale, we're going to pivot back over the roller, let the chest open. And then exhale to fold at the mid-ribs to lift head, neck, and chest, just as if we were laying flat on the floor. Inhale to pivot back. And exhale to fold and lift. Sliding the shoulders down the back. Keeping the hips anchored to the mat as you pivot back. And the legs are nice and still. No movement in the lower half of your body or your spine. then we fold, we lift, supporting the head and the neck. And we're going to twist through the mid-ribs over towards that left shoulder, that left underarm. So we'll get a little bit of that lat stretch as we rotate to the left, and then across the shoulder blades to center, and chest and shoulders twist to the right and center. Working that rotation right across the bra line below the pecs. You can feel the tips of your shoulder blades on the roller as you glide and rotate from side to side. One more each side. And we'll arc back over the roller, reach the arms out nice and long. And fingers interlace once again, hands behind the head. We're going to bridge and lift the hips up. And fold and hinge at the hip to lower. Exhale, hips lift up. As the chest, the shoulders rock back over the roller. And lower. Trying to maintain that neutral low back. The higher you lift the hips, the more you drop the head and the shoulders back over the roller. You get more engagement out of the glutes, out of the hamstrings. 2 more. And we'll rest the hips. Shoulders and chest drop back over the roller. Arms open out to a T. And we stretch back. One more breath. Legs straighten out. Head, neck, chest lifts. Arms come to the front and we'll fold and curl, sitting up and stretching out nice and long over the legs. Reaching out nice and long, stretching far forward over the thighs. One more breath. And we'll slow to restack, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to move our foam roller around to the bottom of the lower leg, resting the back of the lower leg up onto the roller. We're trying to sit up as tall and as long as we can. Arms are going to come to the front and we're going to tilt the hips back. We're going to curl and roll back to the mat. Arms reach up nice and long overhead, stretching far, and arms flow forward. Head, neck, chest lifts. Fold deep at the mid-ribs. We curl and roll up. And we stretch and reach out long over the legs. You could even grab the roller to help pull yourself forward for that deeper stretch. And hands release, and we tilt and curl, rolling back piece by piece, vertebra by vertebra, all the way back to the mat. And arms lengthen long overhead. Reaching and stretching forward, keeping the legs nice and long, pressing the back of the knees down towards your mat for more extension. And we curl back once again. Last roll up. And we'll curl up and restack, sitting up nice and tall and long. We're going to move to a kneeling position to place the foam roller underneath our shins. If this is not a comfortable position, your modification is going to be going to that quadruped position and just simply floating the knees and the shins up off of the mat for that four-corner hold. Otherwise, we're going to bring that foam roller forward. And I'm going to place the shins on the roller. Hands are going to come forward so I can stack the shoulders and the chest out over the elbows and the wrists. Legs are about sits bones distance apart, nice flat back, proud chest. And I'm going to pull the knees under and press back out to that quadruped position. Exhale to draw your knees, the foam roller forward underneath you, and right back out. Pushing up nice and strong away from the floor. You can add more extension if you've got good support and it's easy to get into that range of motion. Last three. And knees will come down to the mat. And we're going to bring our foam roller forward towards the front of the mat. We're going to lay face down. And we're going to bring the foam roller all the way to the front of the mat with your arms nice and straight. And I'm going to start with the arms overhead. The wrists are resting on the top of the roller. You're in that knife hand position with your thumbs pointing up towards the ceiling. What's nice with the roller is that you could do a narrow stance, or to accommodate shoulder mobility, you could work out to the outside edges of the roller. And we're going to inhale to lift the head, neck, and chest, and we roll the foam roller towards the hand, towards the fingertips, and then press back down, reset back down to the mat. Tailbone slightly tucks. We engage through inner thighs as we knit the ribs and the abdominals in for that upper back extension. If you've been working in a wide hand position, after a couple reps, see if you can walk your hands in a little bit more narrow. And lift. Last two. And we'll rest and stretch out. You can walk your hands nice and wide. Returning back to that knife hand setup with your thumb up, your palms turn in. I'm going to go to that wider position on the roller. As we move into that upper back extension, we're going to lift the head, neck, and chest, and then we're going to roll the palms up towards the ceiling. So the back of the hands begin to rest on the roller. And then as we roll forward, we move back to the side of the hand and the wrist. Head, neck, chest lifts for that thoracic extension. Roll the hands to the back of the hands on the roller. And forward for that reset. Last two. And we'll stretch and rest. When you're ready, hands are going to come by the side of the chest. We're going to peel up. Coming to a kneeling position, you could also do this standing if you've got a platform that is upright to rest your foam roller on, like your bed or a table. I'm going to start in this kneeling position, seated on my feet. Again, standing is great if you can't be in this much knee flexion. I'm going to start with my hands nice and wide. That same external rotation where as we reach forward, we supinate, so palms face up towards the ceiling. We're going to roll the foam roller forward, bring the chest to the thighs, and then go palms up towards the ceiling. We reach out, stretching out nice and long. And slow to curl and articulate. Coming back up to that nice tall position. And then try to remember where your hand placement was. So each rep we're going to try to walk our hands in like half an inch. Not a big movement of the hand in on the roller, just a little bit each time. So we reach forward, we roll out, we go to that palm up position. The foam roller is rolling up the arm as you reach out. And hips tilt and we tuck and curl. And we curl up and restack. I need to make sure that I do not roll my ponytail up underneath the roller. Walking the hands in, we then roll out once again. And reach out, stretch out nice and long. And curling back up. I'm going to change my leg position to a wide knee with feet together. So as I begin to stretch out now, I can drop my chest down between the thighs. So reaching out, hands and arms are a little bit closer. Your palms up, the chest drops down between the knees and the thighs. And curling and rolling back up. Now we're going to place our right hand down. Back of the hand is on the roller, your right hand palm up. Your left hand is going to come on top. And we're going to roll and stretch out. There's a bit of a rotation to the right. Stretching out. And then coming back up, and we're going to change positions. Back of the left hand is on the roller. We're going to go palm to palm. And then rolling out. There's a bit of that rotation as you rock the left side down towards your mat. And coming back up. Let's do one more each side. Start with the roller out a little bit farther in front of you versus the roller right against your knees. Right hand is palm up, left hand is on top, and we're going to stretch out. Getting that great lat stretch along the right side through the rib cage, the underarm, the shoulder. And then back up and left side, last one, we reach. And exhale, curl and restack.
take one last hand wide position and we'll roll and stretch. Don't need to supinate if you don't want to. You can just stretch the back, reach out nice and long, dropping the chest down between the knees. And exhale, hips tuck. We're gonna curl and restack. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. All right, guys. Awesome work today. Thank you so much.